The massive ships appeared without warning on a crisp autumn morning in 2087. They hovered silently above major cities worldwide, metallic behemoths that dwarfed the tallest human structures. Humanity had only recently established its first colonies on Mars and Europa, thinking themselves accomplished space travelers. Now faced with these enormous vessels, Earth collectively held its breath. Dr. Jun Kim was reviewing data from the Europa settlement when the alert came through. He rushed to the observation deck of the Space Research Institute and stared upward at the silver-blue hull, reflecting sunlight above Seoul. His assistant handed him a tablet with incoming transmissions. "They're broadcasting in multiple frequencies," she said, voice trembling slightly, "and somehow as in perfect Korean. The visitors called themselves the Galactic Hegemony, a coalition of 27 advanced species spanning over 3,000 star systems. Their representatives requested meetings with Earth's leaders, and within days the aliens walked among humans. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their moods. Their 4 eyes blinked independently, taking in everything with what seemed like genuine curiosity. At first, their diplomacy appeared sincere. The alien ambassador, who adopted the Earth name Mist, toured technology centers, universities, and cultural landmarks. News channels broadcast endless footage of the visitors examining human achievements with what seemed like respectful interest. Children waved flags welcoming our cosmic neighbors, while global markets soared with speculation about advanced technology exchanges. But Dr. Kim noticed something odd during the Seoul Technology Summit. When he demonstrated Earth's newest quantum computer, he caught a subtle color shift in Mist's skin, a purple ripple that didn't match the diplomatic blue they typically maintained. It happened again when showing the Mars colony designs. "Something isn't right," he told his colleague Jay Park over late-night drinks. "They're not impressed, they're amused." Jay shrugged it off as paranoia, until 3 weeks into the diplomatic mission when everything changed. During a special United Nations session, the aliens' translation device malfunctioned. Instead of their carefully crafted diplomatic speech, the device broadcast their actual conversation for 67 seconds before technicians shut it down. "Barely worth cataloging," came the alien voice through speakers worldwide. "Their fastest ships would take centuries to reach even the nearest hegemony outpost. They're burning fossil fuels on half the planet. Did you see their medical tech? Still cutting people open to fix them." Laughter followed. "At least the view is nice. We can convert this water world for vacation properties after processing the indigenous population for basic labor." The feed. Cut. Silence fell across the assembly hall. Video of the incident spread instantly. Riots broke out in major cities. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. The aliens retreated to their ships, claiming a regrettable technical error had occurred. Dr. Kim was called to an emergency Security Council meeting at the UN headquarters in New York. Representatives from every nation gathered in tense silence as technicians verified the translation. "It was accurate," confirmed the head linguist. "They see us as primitives, barely evolved apes playing with technology we don't understand." The American president pounded his fist on the table. "We have nuclear capabilities. We'll show them." "Their shield technology would make that pointless," interrupted Dr. Kim, pulling up scans of the alien vessels. "According to our readings, those ships could withstand anything we throw at them. But there's something they don't understand about us." "Which is?" asked the German chancellor. Dr. Kim smiled slightly. "Humans don't respond well to being underestimated." Later that day, the hegemony sent a formal message expressing cultural misunderstanding and offering to continue diplomatic relations. Their communique suggested Earth might qualify as a protectorate state with the proper guidance over a few centuries. That evening, as Dr. Kim stared at the alien ship still hovering above Seoul, his phone rang. It was Hannah Park, director of Earth's United Defense Initiative. "I've been authorized to form a response team," she said without preamble. "We need you on it." "What exactly are we responding with?" asked Kim. "We can't match their firepower." "No," agreed Director Park. "But after analyzing their behavior, I don't think that's our play. They're arrogant, overconfident. They see us as amusing pets. And we're going to use that against them." I'm proposing we challenge them, directly and publicly. Make it impossible for them to refuse without losing face. Dr. Kim watched the ship's lights pulse against the night sky. Challenge them to what? To prove their superiority, said Director Park. On our terms, on our planet. If they're so advanced, they should have no problem beating us in fair competition. They'll never agree to that, said Kim. They already have, replied Park. Their psychology reports show they can't resist an opportunity to demonstrate dominance. My team sent the proposal 10 minutes ago, framed as a cultural exchange. They accepted immediately. Kim felt a smile spreading across his face. So what's the plan? We're going to show them why humans have survived on this planet against all odds for thousands of years, said Park. First meeting tomorrow, 0800. We have 3 weeks to prepare for the first challenge. As he hung up, Dr. Kim looked back at the alien ship. Soon they would learn that humans were far more than what they appeared to be. The mockery would end. And perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy was about to get a lesson it would never forget. The emergency meeting room buzzed with tension as leaders from across the globe gathered. Coffee cups littered the table alongside tablets displaying the latest data on the alien ships. Director Hannah Park stood at the front, her normally neat hair showing signs of 2 sleepless nights. She tapped her screen, and the room darkened as a projection appeared. Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmation. The hegemony has accepted our challenge proposal. Murmurs rippled through the room. Some faces showed relief, others concern. They think it's amusing, she continued. Their response included what translates roughly as charming primitive customs. They've agreed to 3 contests to be broadcast throughout their empire, as well as on Earth. The American president leaned forward. And if we lose? Director Park's expression remained neutral, but her knuckles whitened around her tablet. They've formalized what was leaked. Earth would become a resource extraction colony with limited human autonomy. We'd essentially be a mining operation and labor force. And if we win? Asked the Indian Prime Minister. Full recognition as equals. Membership in their galactic hegemony with all associated benefits, technology sharing, trade, rights protection. Dr. June Kim, seated near the back, raised his hand. Have they specified the challenges? Yes, we each propose 1, and the third is mutually agreed upon. They've chosen technological innovation. We've selected tactical warfare simulation. A war game? The Chinese representative looked skeptical. Against a species that has conquered thousands of worlds. Not conventional warfare, Director Park clarified. We're designing a complex scenario that tests adaptability, not just firepower. The third challenge will be cultural achievement. The room erupted in overlapping conversations until the Japanese delegate stood. Who will represent humanity in these contests? Our best scientists? Military commanders? Director Park nodded to a young man at the end of the table who had remained silent throughout the meeting. This is Engineer Tae Lee. He'll lead our technology team. All eyes turned to the slender man who looked barely 30. He adjusted his glasses nervously. With respect, Director, said the Brazilian representative, is this our best option? What are his qualifications? Before Park could answer, Tae spoke. I was nobody important 3 years ago, just a garage inventor from Busan who built things from scrap. Then I developed an atmospheric water harvester that now provides clean drinking water to 12 formerly drought-stricken regions. He paused, meeting each skeptical gaze. I understand how to make something from nothing. How to use what others discard. That's what Earth needs now. The room fell silent until Dr. Kim spoke up. I've reviewed his designs. He thinks differently than anyone I've ever met, Director Park continued. For our tactical team, Colonel Su Choi will lead. She gestured to a stern-faced woman in military dress. She's specialized in asymmetric warfare strategies for 20 years. And the cultural challenge, someone asked. We've selected Ji Young, a composer who combines traditional and modern music forms, the French ambassador scoffed. Music? Against beings who have experienced the art of 1,000 worlds? It's not just music, Director Park replied firmly. But I'll let our cultural team explain when the time comes. The meeting continued well into the night, debating strategies and contingencies. When it finally ended, Dr. Kim found Tae Lee staring out the window at the alien ship hovering over the city. "Nervous?" Kim asked, joining him. "Terrified," Tae admitted, "but also oddly calm. All my life I've built things people said were impossible." He turned to Kim with a half-smile. "At least now the stakes are clear." 2 days later, the challenges were publicly announced. Screens worldwide showed the hegemony ambassador Mist standing alongside United Nations officials. The alien skin rippled with confident blue patterns as they detailed the competition. "We look forward to this cultural exchange," Mist said, their translated voice smooth and condescending. "It is always illuminating to witness developing species showcase their achievements." Behind the scenes, preparation was already underway. Tae Lee's workshop became command central for the technology challenge. Parts and prototypes cluttered every surface as his international team worked around the clock. "They're expecting us to try to copy their tech," Tae told his bleary-eyed team during a late-night session, "to show how close we can get to their level. That's a losing game." He swept aside conventional designs, pulling up his own sketches. "We won't play by their rules." Meanwhile, Colonel Choi converted an underground bunker into a tactical operations center. Her team ran simulation after simulation against predicted hegemony strategies. "They've conquered worlds systematically," she explained to her officers. "They value efficiency and overwhelming force. They've never faced an opponent who had nothing to lose." Her fingers traced irregular patterns on the tactical display. "We'll show them chaos they can't compute." As the first challenge approached, public opinion was divided. Some humans prepared for the worst, stockpiling supplies, saying goodbyes. Others rallied with newfound planetary patriotism. "Earth United" became a global slogan overnight. The night before the technology challenge, Director Park found Tae checking equipment one last time. "Are we ready?" she asked simply. Tae looked up from his work, dark circles under his eyes, but determination in his gaze. "No, but neither are they." "What do you mean?" "They expect us to bring our best version of their technology," he said, gesturing to his creation. "Instead, we're bringing something they've never seen before, something uniquely human." "Will it work?" Park asked. Tae smiled. "The beauty of human innovation isn't perfection, it's adaptation. Their tech works flawlessly in optimal conditions. Ours keeps working when everything goes wrong." He closed his toolkit with a decisive click. "And tomorrow things are definitely going wrong for them." As dawn broke over the designated challenge site, crowds gathered behind barriers. The alien judges arrived in hovering platforms, their skin shifting through confident purples and blues. They barely glanced at the human team as they set up their own demonstration model, a gleaming power generator that hummed with perfect efficiency. Tae took a deep breath and nodded to his team. Earth's first real stand against the Galactic Empire was about to begin. Against all odds, he felt a surge of hope. The aliens had mocked humanity without understanding one crucial truth. Humans had spent their entire history overcoming impossible challenges, and they were about to add one more victory to that long, stubborn history. The technological challenge took place in a massive dome constructed specifically for the event. Thousands of spectators filled the stands, while billions more watched. On screens worldwide, the air hummed with tension as both teams made final preparations on opposite sides of the arena floor. The hegemony team moved with practiced precision, their six-fingered hands assembling their power generator without wasted motion. Their leader, who called himself Ambassador Zhou, adopting a human name for the broadcast, smiled condescendingly at the cameras. His skin rippled with confident blues and purples as their machine took shape, a sleek silver column that seemed to bend light around it. "Their quantum stability matrix is generations beyond our technology," whispered one of Tae's assistants, watching through binoculars. "It's pulling energy directly from subspace." Tae nodded without looking up from his work. Impressive and completely useless for what's coming. His own team's creation looked chaotic by comparison, a hodgepodge of materials that resembled a small weather station more than an advanced power generator. Recycled solar panels, modified wind turbines, and what appeared to be water purification. Components were connected by a web of cables to a central hub. Some spectators shifted uncomfortably in their seats, doubt crossing their faces. The head judge, a tall hegemony elder with pale green skin, approached the center of the arena. The challenge will test sustainable energy production under variable conditions, the translator announced. Each team must power the provided city grid simulation through 5 environmental scenarios. Tay's team exchanged knowing looks. This was exactly what they'd prepared for. Ambassador Doyun's skin flashed with amusement patterns. "We welcome this opportunity to demonstrate standard hegemony residential power technology," he announced to the crowd. "This 5th-generation quantum fold reactor is commonly used on developing worlds in our empire. The first test began with standard conditions, moderate temperature, normal atmospheric pressure. The alien generator hummed to life, instantly providing stable power to their grid. The monitoring screens showed perfect output." The crowd murmured, impressed but not surprised. Tay's creation spun into action more gradually, solar components tilting to catch light, turbines beginning to turn, thermal exchangers warming. For a moment, the power levels lagged behind the alien technology. Then they stabilized, matching the hegemony output exactly. "Adequate," commented the head judge. "Now for variable condition 1. Without warning, massive cooling units activated above the arena, dropping the temperature 30 degrees. Simulated wind and rain followed. The alien generator continued functioning perfectly until a slight fluctuation appeared on their monitors. "A minor adjustment," Ambassador Doyun said smoothly, tapping commands into their control panel. The fluctuation corrected itself. Tay made no adjustments to his machine. Instead, something unexpected happened. The human device began to change its configuration autonomously. Solar panels folded as wind turbines expanded. The power output remained steady. "Fascinating," the head judge noted. "Your device adapts." "It doesn't just adapt," Tay explained, allowing himself a small smile. "It evolves." The next scenario brought intense heat and light. The alien generator required another adjustment, taking 18 seconds to recalibrate. Tay's machine transformed again, solar panels maximizing exposure, while thermal components redirected excess heat into additional power generation. For the first time, the human power levels exceeded the alien output. A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. The hegemony team's skin colors shifted to concerned yellows and oranges. "Variable condition 3 will test radiation tolerance," announced the judge. As radiation levels rose, the alien generator's perfect hum became erratic. Ambassador Doyun rushed to the control panel, making rapid adjustments. "A simple recalibration," he assured the judges, though his skin betrayed anxiety. Meanwhile, Tay's creation underwent its most dramatic transformation yet. Components rearranged, creating a shielded core while extending what looked like primitive antennas. Incredibly, the radiation itself became another power source. The human power levels now significantly exceeded the hegemonies. "How is this possible?" demanded Doyun, abandoning diplomacy. "Your technology is centuries behind ours." Tay shrugged. "We don't have perfect technology. Earth never gave us that luxury. Instead, we learned to build systems that thrive on imperfection." The 4th scenario combined extreme cold with atmospheric pressure changes. The alien generator faltered severely, its perfect engineering suddenly a liability in conditions its designers had never anticipated. Doyun's team scrambled to protect their technology, eventually stabilizing at 60% capacity. Tay's machine simply continued its evolutionary adaptations, maintaining full power output. By the final scenario, a simulated electromagnetic pulse followed by gravity fluctuations, the outcome was no longer in doubt. The hegemony technology failed completely, while the human creation adjusted, recovered, and continued functioning. Silence fell across the arena before the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. For the first time since their arrival, the aliens appeared genuinely stunned. "How did you anticipate these specific conditions?" the head judge demanded. "We didn't," Tay replied simply. "We just built something that could handle anything. Earth taught us that." The judges conferred briefly before the head judge announced, "The human team has demonstrated superior adaptability and resilience. Point to Earth." That night, celebrations erupted worldwide. One victory didn't win the war, but it shattered the illusion of the hegemony's invincibility. Dr. Kim found Tay sitting alone in his workshop long after the celebration had moved elsewhere. "You should be enjoying your victory," Kim said, placing a bottle of soju and 2 glasses on the workbench. Tay looked up from the schematics he was studying. "It wasn't my victory. It was Earth's approach to survival that won today." Kim poured drinks for both of them. "The adaptability principle, building for chaos rather than perfection." "Exactly. Their technology is magnificent in controlled conditions. But the universe isn't controlled." Tay took the offered glass. "They've spent thousands of years making perfect technology for perfect environments. We've spent thousands of years surviving environments that were trying to kill us." "They underestimated that history," Kim agreed. "But they won't make the same mistake tomorrow." The tactical challenge would begin in less than 12 hours. Colonel Su Choi's team had watched the technology competition carefully, noting how the aliens responded to surprise and adaptation. "They'll be prepared for unconventional approaches. Now," Choi warned her tactical team during their final briefing, "so we'll have to be even more unpredictable." One of her lieutenants looked concerned. "Their military technology is still vastly superior, and they've conquered thousands of worlds." Colonel Choi smiled slightly. "Yes, but I suspect they've forgotten something important about conquest." She pulled up a historical display showing Earth's most famous military victories, vastly outnumbered forces defeating superior enemies through creativity and determination. "What's that?" asked the lieutenant. "The most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the best weapons," she replied. "It's the one with nothing left to lose." As dawn broke on Challenge Day 2, humanity held its breath. One victory had given them hope, but the war game would test whether humans could outthink beings with millennia of tactical experience. Earth's freedom hung in the balance as Colonel Choi stepped onto the battlefield, her expression revealing nothing of the revolutionary strategy she was about to unveil. The tactical challenge had ended in another unexpected human victory. Colonel Zhou Choi's guerrilla warfare strategy had confounded the hegemony's commanders, who relied too heavily on overwhelming force and predictable formations. When faced with human forces that melted away rather than meeting them head-on, then struck from impossible angles before disappearing again, the aliens found their superior technology neutralized by inferior but more creative tactics. Now, with the competition tied at 1 win each, the final cultural challenge would determine Earth's fate. The venue was the ancient amphitheater of Ephesus in Turkey, restored specifically for this event. Stone seats that had witnessed thousands of years of human history now held a mix of world leaders, selected citizens, and hegemony representatives. The warm Mediterranean breeze carried the scent of salt and wild thyme as sunset painted the sky in deepening shades of orange and purple. Ji Young sat alone backstage, eyes closed in meditation. At 32, she was an unlikely champion for humanity, neither famous nor celebrated outside a small circle of music enthusiasts. Her specialty was finding connections between seemingly disparate sounds, blending traditional Korean gyeogyum with electronic beats and natural soundscapes. When Director Park had approached her 3 weeks ago, Ji Young had been teaching music to children in rural communities. "Are you ready?" Dr. Kim asked gently, appearing at her side. Ji Young opened her eyes. "No, but Earth is." The hegemony had arrived in force for this final contest. Their cultural delegation included 12 specialists in various art forms, all draped in flowing garments, embedded with shifting light patterns that created moving murals across the fabric. They carried unusual instruments and what appeared to be holographic projectors. Ambassador Do Yoon looked far less confident than when he'd first landed on Earth. The 2 unexpected defeats had changed something in his bearing. His skin now stayed mostly in cautious greens and yellows. "This challenge holds special significance for the hegemony," he announced to the audience as twilight deepened. "Art is the highest achievement of advanced civilizations. It transcends the practical necessities of survival and technology to express the soul of a species." The head judge explained the format. Each side would present a single cultural work that demonstrated the pinnacle of their artistic achievement. 3 hegemony judges and 3 human judges would evaluate based on emotional impact, technical complexity, and cultural significance. The hegemony will present first, announced the head judge. The alien delegation moved to the center of the ancient stage. The lights throughout the amphitheater dimmed until only stars illuminated the scene. Then, with a gesture from their lead artist, their presentation began. What followed was undeniably magnificent. Their instruments produced sounds beyond human hearing range, yet somehow created harmonic resonances that could be felt in the bones. Holographic displays filled the air above the audience, showing visions of distant worlds, gas giants with crystal rings, binary star systems casting double shadows, luminescent forests with floating islands. As their symphony built to its climax, the performer's skin began glowing in perfect synchronization with the music. The entire amphitheater seemed to vibrate with the final crescendo as the images above coalesced into a single unified galaxy, turning slowly as the music faded to silence. For several moments, no one spoke or moved. Many audience members were openly weeping from the beauty of it. The human judges looked stunned, scribbling notes with shaking hands. Ambassador Zhou stepped forward, his skin glowing with renewed confidence. This composition has moved 73 species to emotional response across 2,000 years of performances. It represents the collected artistic wisdom of the hegemony. As applause slowly built and then thundered through the amphitheater, Ji Young stood in the wings, face pale. How could anyone follow such a performance? Dr. Kim placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember why we're here," he said quietly. Ji Young nodded and stepped onto the stage as the applause finally died down. She wore simple black clothing with no adornments and carried only a small electronic device. Compared to the hegemony's spectacular display, she looked almost pitifully ordinary. "The human contestant appears to have no instruments," one alien judge commented, skin rippling with confusion. Ji Young placed her device on the stage floor and activated it. A gentle pulse of light expanded outward. She took a breath and addressed the audience. "I will not be performing tonight," she said, her voice steady despite the collective gasp from the crowd. "Instead, I would like to share with you the music that already exists." She pressed a button on her device, and the amphitheater filled with sound, but not a composed piece. It was a child's laugh, pure and uninhibited. This faded into the gentle rhythm of rain on leaves, which blended into the distant rumble of thunder. Heart monitors from a hospital birthing room joined the composition, the rapid pulse of new life entering the world. Images began to form above the audience, but unlike the hegemony's perfect projections, these were rough-edged historical recordings, cave paintings from France, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Chinese calligraphy, Renaissance paintings, modern street art from Brazil. Each image dissolved into the next as the sounds continued to evolve. A grandmother singing a lullaby in Arabic transitioned to Buddhist monks chanting, then to African drumming, Norwegian folk songs, classical violin, jazz saxophone, and rock guitar. Human voices recited poetry in dozens of languages, some long dead, others still vibrant. The whispered words of lovers, the solemn vows of weddings, the tearful eulogies of funerals. The soundscape grew more complex, whale songs crossing with wind through bamboo forests, city traffic interweaving with jungle birds, heartbeats underlying, everything in an ever-present rhythm. The audience sat transfixed as the presentation continued. On the judges' faces, both human and alien, tears began to flow freely. Even Ambassador Zhou's skin had shifted to a deep purple never seen before. As the composition reached its culmination, all the sounds briefly aligned into an impossible harmony before dissolving into a single sound, a human heartbeat, strong and resolute. Then silence. Ji Young stood alone on the stage, her own eyes wet with tears. "This is not my creation," she said softly. "This is our collective voice across 200,000 years. Not one artist's vision of perfection, but millions of voices creating together across time and space. Not a single masterpiece, but an ongoing conversation between generations." The silence that followed seemed to stretch into eternity. Then, from somewhere in the audience, a single person began to clap. Others joined until the ancient stones of Ephesus resonated with applause that continued for nearly 10 minutes. When the judges finally conferred, their deliberation was surprisingly brief. The head judge approached the center stage. "We have experienced something unprecedented tonight," they announced, their voice carrying strange emotional overtones never heard before in hegemony speech. The hegemony presented technical perfection and harmonic brilliance developed over millennia. Ambassador Zhou's skin rippled with anticipatory triumph. The humans presented— The judge paused, seemingly struggling for words. Themselves, raw, imperfect, infinitely diverse, emotionally complex. They showed us not what one artist can achieve, but what billions of individuals can create when each voice contributes to the whole. The judge's skin shifted to a deep blue. "In my 1,000 years as cultural adjudicator, I have never encountered a species that turned their very existence into art. The final point goes to Earth. Humanity has won the challenge." As celebrations erupted throughout the amphitheater and across the planet, Ji Young quietly left the stage. She found Dr. Kim waiting in the wings. "How did you know that would work?" he asked in amazement. She smiled. "Because their art was perfect, and perfect things can't grow anymore." She looked out at the jubilant crowd. "But we're still becoming." That's what they couldn't understand until tonight. On the other side of the stage, Ambassador Zhou stood motionless, his skin cycling through colors never seen before by human eyes. For the first time since arriving on Earth, the hegemony representatives looked genuinely humbled. Something fundamental had changed in the relationship between Earth and the stars. 1 year after the challenge ended, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The massive hegemony ships no longer loomed threateningly over major cities. Instead, they docked at the newly constructed orbital platforms, where their sleek designs contrasted with the more practical human space stations. Min Ho stood at the observation window of the International Space Elevator, watching shuttles ferry passengers between Earth and the stations. As the newly appointed director of the Terran Academy, he still found it hard to believe how drastically their relationship with the galactic hegemony had transformed. "First graduating class leaves tomorrow," said Dr. Jun Kim, joining him at the window. The older scientist had more gray in his hair now, but also a perpetual look of wonder that hadn't been there before the challenges. 27 alien species sending their brightest to learn from us." Min Ho shook his head. "If you'd told me this 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it either," Kim admitted. "But then, I never expected them to request learning opportunities rather than simply admitting us to their alliance." The aftermath of humanity's victory had been nothing like they'd anticipated. Instead of grudgingly accepting Earth as equals, the hegemony had done something unprecedented. In their 50,000-year history, they had asked to learn. "We have been stagnant," Ambassador Zhou had explained during the formal ceremony, marking Earth's admission to the hegemony. His skin had shifted through thoughtful blues and purples as he spoke. Perfect technology, perfect art, perfect governance. But perfection, we now realize, is its own form of death. Below them in the elevator's main terminal, a group of alien visitors was being guided through security by human staff. The aliens, tall with shifting skin colors, still drew stares from human travelers, but no longer inspired fear. "How's Tai's exchange program working out?" Dr. Kim asked. Min Ho smiled. "Better than expected. The adaptive technology principles he taught them have already been implemented in 17 hegemony worlds. Their engineers can't get enough of his chaotic resilience theory." The concept had been revolutionary to the aliens, the idea that systems should be designed not for optimal performance under ideal conditions, but to adapt and survive under constantly changing, often hostile environments. Earth's history of natural disasters, climate shifts, and resource limitations had forced human engineers to solve problems their alien counterparts had never faced. "And Colonel Choi?" Kim inquired. "Teaching tactical flexibility at the Hegemony War College," Min Ho replied. "Apparently she's turning centuries of their military doctrine upside down. They've never encountered a species that developed so many different fighting styles and strategies." They watched as the first evening lights of Seoul began twinkling below. The city had become a major hub for alien tourism, with visitors eager to experience Earth cuisine, music, and art firsthand. The cultural exchange has been the most surprising, Kim remarked. Did you see that 3 hegemony worlds have started their own versions of orchestras? They never had the concept of multiple instruments playing different parts simultaneously before Ji Young's presentation. Minho nodded. Their art was always about achieving perfect unity. The idea of deliberate contrast and tension creating something beautiful. It was foreign to them. A notification chimed on Minho's tablet. He checked it and smiled. The council approved my proposal. We're opening 5 more Terran academies across the hegemony. Dr. Kim raised an eyebrow. That was fast. The proposal only went in last week. They're eager, Minho explained. The first exchange students who returned to their worlds have already implemented significant changes. Adaptive agricultural systems on Proxima b, water conservation technology on Tau Ceti's colonies. They're seeing results. Below, a group of school children pressed against the observation windows, pointing excitedly at an alien family who waved back with graceful 6-fingered hands. Remember how they looked at us when they first arrived? Kim asked quietly. Like we were barely evolved primates playing with technology we didn't understand. And now they quote our philosophers and study our history, Minho replied. Speaking, of which I had an interesting conversation with Do-Yoon yesterday. He asked me why humans developed so differently from other species in the hegemony. What did you tell him? Minho gazed out at the horizon, where the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in vivid orange and pink. I told him it was because we never had it easy. Every step of our evolution was a fight for survival. We faced ice ages, meteor strikes, plagues, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. He turned to face his mentor. The hegemony species all evolved on worlds with stable climates, abundant resources, and few natural predators. Their development was comfortable. And comfort rarely drives innovation, Kim concluded, or resilience. Exactly. Do-Yoon said, something surprising then. He said they've been studying our history intensively, especially our conflicts and disasters, not to understand our weaknesses, but to learn how we survived them. A shuttle departed from the elevator platform, rising smoothly toward the orbital stations. Inside would be a mix of humans and aliens, traveling together toward a future neither species had imagined possible 1 year ago. Ji Young's newest collaborative work premieres next week, Kim mentioned. First ever piece composed jointly by humans and 3 hegemony species. I heard, Minho smiled. They're calling it convergent evolution. Tickets sold out in hours. The observation deck had grown busier as evening approached. Human and alien diplomats mingled with tourists and business travelers. Languages from Earth and beyond filled the air in a symphony of communication that would have seemed impossible months earlier. The Hegemony Council is considering implementing our democratic voting systems, Minho said. For 50,000 years, they've used AI-guided consensus algorithms to make decisions. The idea of productive disagreement is revolutionary to them. Still amazes me, Kim mused. We thought we were fighting for our survival, but we ended up changing their entire civilization. And they're changing ours, Minho pointed out. The medical technologies they've shared have already eliminated 3 previously incurable diseases. Energy production is, as darkness fell completely, the lights of human cities below matched the stars appearing above. 2 realms of light now. Connected rather than separate. Did you ever imagine it would turn out this way, Kim asked? When those ships first appeared and we heard them mocking us? Minho shook his head. Never. I expected us to earn our place at best. I never thought. They would see us as teachers. A family passed by, human parents with their young daughter, who clutched a stuffed toy resembling one of the hegemony species. The little girl waved at an actual alien diplomat, who bent down to her level and changed their skin to a rainbow, of colors that made her giggle with delight. The children born now will never know a world where we were alone in the universe, Kim observed, or where we were considered primitive. Minho checked the time. I should go. Final preparations for tomorrow's graduation ceremony. As they parted ways, Dr. Kim called after him, What do you think is the most important thing we've taught them? Minho considered for a moment. That imperfection isn't something to be eliminated, he finally answered. It's the space where growth happens. He walked toward the elevator that would take him back to Earth's surface. Tomorrow, the first class of alien students would return to their worlds, carrying with them not just human technology and strategies, but a fundamentally different way of seeing the universe. And human exchange students would venture out to distant stars, bringing curiosity and adaptability to worlds that had forgotten how to change. The Galactic Empire had mocked Earth, seeing only primitive technology and biological inefficiency. They had never imagined that those very limitations had created humanity's greatest strengths. Now the species that once laughed at humans looked to them for guidance on how to evolve beyond perfection into something more vibrant and alive. Earth had not merely joined the stars, it had transformed them, and the universe would never be the same.